call the Town Council special meeting to order. Today is what day of the week is today? Amanda, what day is today? The 22nd? Today is the 22nd. It is 5:02. The purpose of today's meeting, and we'll go to citizens' comments first, but the purpose of today's meeting is to choose a chair for the Board of Finance. Under our town charter, when the Board of Finance is unable to make a decision regarding the chairmanship or chairwomanship of the committee, it comes to the town council to make that decision. I don't believe that this precedent has been used in the past. I don't think we've ever had to make this decision, but it is a three board. There have been two candidates that have expressed interest, and so what I would like to do for the evening is first we'll start with citizens' comments. I have some written correspondence, and then citizens are welcome to address the council for 2 minutes each. And then I've asked both of the candidates who are interested and who've expressed interest to present to the town council some of their ideas, goals, and objectives of why they want to be chair. So just the two candidates that have expressed interest are John Ireland, the current chair, and Ed Maley, the former chair. So both gentlemen have served in that role at one point or another in the past. So those are the two folks that have expressed interest. But now I will open it to citizens' comments, and then after that I'll read the correspondence that I've received. So any citizens' comments, please, 2 minutes. State your name and your address for the record. Just check the mic, Matt, to make sure it's hot before you start. It's not hot. You gotta click it on. Is it on?
No. Let it warm up.
This is one of the most temperamental mics.
Got me?
There you go. Thank you, sir. Whenever you're ready.
Matthew Zabrowski, 25 Sovereign Ridge. I am also a current member of the Board of Education. I can tell you that over my time on the Board of Education, I've had to have multiple interactions with both gentlemen on a number of different committees, interactions in a number of different capacities, and I actually have a lot of respect for both of them for different reasons for each. And while I do hold Ed to be a valuable member of the Board of Finance, I actually think that Mr. Ireland would be the better choice for the chair. He has, in his time as chair and my time on the board, worked very closely with the Board of Education leadership, including the superintendent on budgeting, trying to get a handle and understanding, excuse me, and try to understanding how our budget process works. He has sat in on contract negotiations with our different bargaining units to understand how those situations work. He's provided insights and advice, and he's been a real strong partner in developing what is the largest budget item for this town. He's helped things go smoothly, and he's formed a lot of really strong working relationships with members of a number of different boards in town. So I encourage you to choose Mr. Ireland tonight, and I would also say that I know the way the Board of Finance vote went, it was aligned with party lines, and I would encourage you to think more about who is actually going to be better for the community as a whole in this role. And again, it's not a knock on Ed. I think very highly of Ed. I think he is a very valuable member of his board. I just think that John has shown through his actions over the last several years and his interactions and the relationships he's built, he's the guy that you want running the show right now.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Any other citizens' comments? Matt did good. He was right under. He was right there. He was right on the button. He did very well.
Kelly Franklin, 4 Cortland Way. I'm here to speak in support of Mr. Ireland continuing as chair of Board of Finance. For the past 4 years, I've worked closely with John, and I can say without hesitation that his leadership has made this town better. He goes out of his way to understand the Board of Education process, and just as importantly, he helps others understand the Board of Finance perspective. That kind of effort and collaboration is exactly what effective leadership looks like. John doesn't lead for recognition or politics. He leads because he genuinely cares about this town and the people in it, and he has proven himself as a steady, thoughtful, and authentic chair. Tonight, I ask this committee to put politics aside and vote for the person, not their party. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations on your re-election, by the way. Okay, any other citizens' comments?
So my name is Catherine Russ, 7 Robbie Road, also on the Board of Ed for 6 years. More than half of that as secretary and liaison to the Board of Finance. So I've worked with John on quite a few things, and he has played a huge role in implementing change in the budgeting process for the better for our town, including, and our schools, I should say, but including working with the mayor and our superintendent to get the CNR and the capital non-recurring, and which everybody now has a voice in, which is fantastic and excellent for our town. He's very clear with his communications with the Board of Education about what they're looking for in the Board of Finance and what we should be providing, because we do have the largest piece of the budget in this town, and we fully understand and comprehend that. And he has been the chair. I've been following the Board of Finance since before I was on the Board of Ed. He's been the first chair that I've seen that has truly tried to comprehend everything that happens on a Board of Ed budget. It's not as straightforward. I know government contracting is difficult for a lot, or government budgets are hard for a lot to understand, but the education budget is definitely different. And he worked hard, especially trying to go to different contract negotiations, which was key. He sacrifices so much of his own personal time to address issues that most people don't even see. He is always available for when we have questions, when we want him to explain things further. He comes out every other year and gives a presentation to the Board of Ed to make sure we fully understand not just how our budget process works, but how the town as a whole works and how we fit into that, so we have a better understanding of our impacts on the town as a whole. So I greatly enjoy Ed being on the Board of Finance. He's very colorful with his questions and comments, but I am supporting John in the Board of Finance chair this evening, and I urge the rest of you to also. Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations, you're secretary again, right, of the Board of Ed? Congratulations on your reappointment.
Hello, Alan Schuman, 505 Main Street, Cromwell. I too am on the Board of Ed, and what they said, I'll be brief, that John's involvement in my term on the first Board of Ed, he's always involved. He shows up at the contract meetings, and he's very helpful in all the, getting these things through and putting together the budget process and explaining it to others and bringing us information from the town. So I encourage you to support John. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens? Okay, go ahead.
Andrew Holt, 8 Wildwood Road. I would just like to put forth my support for John Ireland to continue as the chairman of the Board of Finance. When you talk to John about any of the issues relating to the town of Cromwell, he doesn't pull any punches. And he's very steadfast and has an analytical approach and tends to leave emotion at the door. He's willing to break down some of the complex financial issues and go over the consequences of any future endeavors that the town has from a fiscal perspective. That's exactly what you want from a Board of Finance chairman. I think John has done a great job, and I think he'll continue to do a great job. I hope that all the esteemed members of this town council will support John and continue as the Board of Finance chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Any other citizens' comments from the room? Mr. Fidelli, congratulations on
Fidelli.
your election.
Thank you. 1 Deming Lane. Currently a member of the Board of Finance, although because of this situation, haven't exactly sat in on a meeting yet. I have served for 2 years as an alternate on the Board of Finance. I haven't been involved in the town politics for that long, mainly 2 years, but during that 2 years, I've gotten to work with both John and with Ed. Both have been fantastic for trying to get me up to speed as to where we are with things and where our vision goes. But during those 2 years, I've really enjoyed working with Ed, and I support Ed as chair of the Board of Finance.
Thank you, Jimmy. Any other citizens' comments from the room? Mr. Canada.
Hello, Mike Canado, 136 Nooks Hill Road. So, what I'm asking everyone on the council to do is forget about your party affiliation. Look at history. Look at who has been the person in front of the Board of Finance. Look at who has negotiated contracts. Look at who has worked across the aisle with everyone, party affiliation aside. I can honestly say that John and I have agreed to disagree on a few things, and we've agreed to agree on a few things. But at the end of the day, he is thoughtful, he is level-headed, he is even-handed, he is the ideal chair. So again, my point is, I agree with all the previous speakers, but my point is, forget about your party affiliation and vote for C. That stands for Cromwell. It doesn't matter R, it doesn't matter D, it matters C for Cromwell. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Canada. Any other, Mr. Rude?
Good evening, James Rude, 25 High Ridge Road. I've been a lifelong unaffiliated voter here in the town of Cromwell, and as other folks have said, the party affiliation of the people that we elect should not be important to making sure that we do what's best for the town of Cromwell. And I'd like to suggest that maybe the town council could consider thinking outside the box and consider another candidate other than the two candidates that are currently have currently been proposed in the 3-3 tie. I think it's important for the chair of the Board of Finance to be someone that's not only extremely interested in the town of Cromwell, but involved in all sorts of other things going on in the town of Cromwell. And I would like to have the the town council consider Steve Wyganowski for the chair of the Board of Finance. Steve is currently the vice chair of the Board of Finance. He's involved in a lot of things that are going on here in town. He's working on the new Riverport Festival. He's involved in the Boy Scouts in Cromwell. He's on the fire district. And I think from the perspective of leadership and helping move the town of Cromwell along, Steve would be an excellent choice. You have seen him over the course of the past year and a half working very diligently on the capital planning process in the town of Cromwell and trying to get some of the capital things moving along. And maybe rather than going back to some of the things we've had in the past, it might be time to consider moving into a different direction than we've done before. So again, thank you very much, and I agree with the commentary that the D or the R doesn't matter. Let's get the best person in this position as the chair of the Board of Finance. Thank you very much for considering my comments.
Thank you, James. Any other citizens' comments from the room? Is this going to be in lieu of the written comment?
Yeah, I'll just read directly from my prepared remarks. Makes it easier for me now anyway. So, yeah, I'm here, as many others, in support of John Ireland remaining the chair of the Board of Finance. In the past 4 years I've served on the board, I've observed firsthand his professionalism and transparency with which John executes the role. He's built strong lines of communication with the Board of Ed, town manager, and the finance director, and allows us to have productive discussions and quicker decision making. He allows everyone on the board to express concerns and questions and make sure these issues are resolved in a timely manner. One example, notable, was a request that several members had for more details on our monthly fund balance reports. And John gathered our feedback and worked with the finance director to implement and make improvements which have added additional information within our reports. It allowed us to have better real-time understanding of where we stood month to month. So I ask each council person here to consider the positive impact that John has had on the Board of Finance and by extension the residents of Cromwell, and acknowledge his dedication to the town by affirming his position as the chair. Respectfully. Did I say 27 Meadow Road?
You did.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, I think that's everyone in the room. That doesn't work here. Any other citizens' comments? Okay, I will go to our letters that I received. I received 4 pieces of correspondence, but I will read 3 because Matt just read his. The first one is from Cassandra Crew. Dear members of the Cromwell Town Council, I'm writing to express my support for Ed Maley to serve as the chair of the Cromwell Board of Finance. I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting, and I respectfully ask that this letter be read into the record. Ed brings significant experience in government finance and a strong history of service to the town of Cromwell. He is diligent and takes fiscal oversight seriously. Ed has set a high standard for the Board of Finance work, and he is consistent about keeping the focus on responsible budgeting, transparency, and long-term planning for the town. As a Cromwell rather than an active community member, I've known Ed to care deeply about our town, and he brings that commitment into every role and every civic responsibility I've seen him take on. In my experience, Ed raises important questions that helps the board thoroughly evaluate decisions and plan responsibly, ensuring that the town is looking at the full picture and the long-term impact. Just as importantly, Ed understands that the budget decisions are not abstract, but directly affect Cromwell families, seniors, students, and local businesses. He approaches the work with that in mind and is careful about balancing the town's needs with affordability to taxpayers. As Cromwell continues to manage rising costs and important community priorities, I believe Ed's experience and steady approach would best serve the board in the role of chair. I respectfully urge you to support Ed Maley for chair of the Board of Finance. Thank you for your time and your service to the town. Happy holidays to all. Respectfully, Cast Crew, 586 Main Street. Next is an email from Selena Kelleher, former chair of the Cromwell Board of Education. Mayor Demetriadis and members of the Cromwell Town Council, I'm writing to express my support for John Ireland as chair of the Board of Finance and simultaneously recognize his dedication and service to our town. Over the past several years, Mr. Ireland has devoted a significant time and energy to helping our community streamline processes, improve efficiency, and move forward important initiatives. In addition to his broad contributions, he has demonstrated a clear commitment to the understanding the Board of Education budget, meeting with the superintendent and myself, and providing annual presentations to the Board of Education. These efforts help ensure that the board members and the broader community have a clear understanding of town processes and fiscal priorities. Mr. Ireland's thoughtful approach and collaborative mindset further demonstrate his advocacy for the most important issues, as well as his work on updating the town's capital non-recurring expense process. These efforts have made reflect his dedication to transparency, fiscal responsibility, and long-term planning, and they've had a meaningful impact on the community as a whole. Let's continue to move forward together as a town under his leadership. I urge you to appoint Mr. Ireland as the continued leader of the Board of Finance. And then I just got a piece of correspondence from Steve Waganowski. Regarding the election, he's writing in support of John Ireland for the position of chair. He served the town well over the last couple years. He has expended significant personal efforts to bring a professional sense to the Board of Finance activities. His work has included working with the town finance director to best position the Board of Finance, the town, and the public to have the information needed to make decisions. It is also evident that John has established a good working relationship with the town manager and mayor. John has established a good working relationship with the Board of Education. This includes welcoming Board of Education and school district leaders and staff. John has regularly spent time with the Board of Education and school administration to explain the Board of Finance role and the budget process. John has been supportive of the work to improve the long-term capital planning process across the town and the school district. This has helped led to the creation of the Facilities Committee. Respectfully, Steve Waganowski. Those are all the citizens' comments that I have. Are there any other citizens' comments? Oh,
Can you just read from did you check your email?
hold on. Matt, did you send me another one, Matt?
No, I didn't send you a version. No, I thought Chris Creed might have.
Oh, you know what? Yes, hold on. Yes, you're right, Chris. Here it is. I forwarded it, but it didn't get printed, so I apologize. This is from Chris Carolangio. Cantrolangio? How do I say that? Sure. Somebody with my last name should do better at these things. Dear Town Council, I'm writing to express my strong support for John Ireland continuing his role as Board of Finance Chair. I've served as an alternate on the Board of Finance for these past 2 years, working closely with John throughout that time. In that role, I've seen firsthand the steady and thoughtful approach John brings to the position. He places a strong emphasis on clear communication and accountability, encourages meaningful discussion amongst board members, and works constructively with town leadership to ensure financial matters are thoroughly reviewed and well understood. His willingness to listen and respond to concerns has helped the board to function efficiently and collaboratively. John's commitment to transparency and sound financial oversight has been a clear asset to the Board of Finance and the town as a whole. I respectfully urge the council to recognize his contributions and continued dedication by supporting his continued service. Chris Carolangio? Craglio? Okay, I'm sorry. 9 Butternut Drive. I need phonetic spellings. I'm like one of those deans at the graduation ceremonies that need the help. But thank you, Chris, for your comments. Okay, so those are all the citizens' comments. Matt, you sent, right? You're good? And you read the one that you wanted to have read? Okay.
Not version 1. Got it. Okay, so I think we're all set with citizens' comments. So I will close citizens' comments. I've now asked to help in the deliberations for both candidates to present briefly to the town council and to the public. I know that we both know them very well and respect them very well, but I thought it would be important if we were going to be making a decision about the chairmanship of another town committee that we have the opportunity to hear from the people who want to lead that town committee. Oh, Al's getting a cookie. I was like, is Al leaving? What's happening?
The cookie lady.
The cookie lady. Thank you, Judge Arjema, for the cookies. And so I'll open it up to the two of you for a brief presentation, 5 to 10 minutes if possible, so that way we can get folks out by 6. I don't know who wants to go first. John, do you want to go first? Ed, do you want to go first? Who wants to go first?
Flip a coin. I don't have any change.
I got a coin. Okay. I don't care. Really. Tails. What do you? Let me see. It is.
John, dealer's choice.
Oh, so you're going to skip over. Good afternoon. I'm Ed Maley. I really don't have to say that. There's nobody in this room I don't know and doesn't know me, I don't think. So, by the way, I told people who said, should we come to this meeting? I said, why are you wasting your time in Christmas? So you can tell, 7 people who have known me for years who I am. I think you all know who I am. I've known Councilor Arjema for more years than we'd both like to admit. A long time.
Over 50, I think.
It's well over 50. So anyway, the reason, I love to hear a bunch of Republicans come up here and tell you not to vote for the Democrat just because we don't have the majority. I'm waiting for the time when they come up and say vote against the Republican because the labels don't matter. Anyway, what should I tell you that you don't already know? I have worked in government for all of my adult life, actually since I was a child, but worked all of my adult life. Worked for the General Assembly for 48 years now. Most of that time I was very much involved with state finances, the state budget. I was the attorney for the Finance Committee of the General Assembly for a dozen years. Worked on many tax and bonding issues, including the Clean Water Fund, the LoCIP Fund, which we used last year. I put that together. That was my idea. It was Senator DeBella's idea, I guess, in my construction. I, for many years, worked as the Chief of Staff and General Counsel to the State Senate Democrats. During that period, again, I worked on the state budget for many years, a budget which is literally 1,000 times bigger than the town budget. So I'm quite aware of how municipal finances work. Also happen to be a published author on the subject of parliamentary procedure, which is something that's valuable to us. Let me just say, I also have absolutely nothing bad to say about Mr. Ireland. Are there things I'd like to change about how we run the Board of Finance? Yes, there are. I think anyone who has been watching the Board of Finance meetings over my time on there, oh, and by the way, my time was, I was an alternate from 93 to 99. I was a member from 99 to, I think, 2011, and then came back in 2017 and have been back on since then. And I was the chair at some point towards the end of the first decade of here. By the way, this situation has occurred before. Well, it hasn't occurred that we've gotten here. And I checked this with former First Selectman Flanders, who was a member of the Board of Finance with me. I believe in 2005 or 2007, we had a 3-3 vote. In that period, the Republicans had the majority on the board, on the, what we were then calling the Board of Selectmen. And we, the Democrats, made the decision that we were not going to waste the time, money, and effort for the town to fight this when we knew we were going to lose. So we just voted for the Republican candidate, and we just did it. It didn't seem to make any sense. The people had voted. They gave the council a Republican majority, as well as splitting the Board of Finance. And we thought that's the rational thing to do instead of wasting time and effort. And perhaps causing problems, perhaps not. In any case, this is not the first time this has happened. It's just the first time that it's been taken to this extent to have to actually come to the legislative body. We thought it was more rational to do the rational thing 20 years ago. Again, nothing against Mr. Ireland. I will say that anyone who's seen my meetings, me at the meetings, will know that I've been very unhappy with the amount of information that we get from the town manager's office, from the administration, on items that we're required to vote on. It has gotten better. Is it because of Mr. Ireland? Is it because of me? I don't know. It's gotten a little better. It has not gotten good. It's just gotten better. The one example I always point out is when I first came back on the board, we were supposed to be voting on a new public works facility up in the North Meadow, and the backup we were given for that was at the meeting that they wanted us to vote on. We got one overhead photo of the area and one 10-line Excel spreadsheet of how much it would cost to build the building. And that was it. And that was considered an appropriate amount. Well, and by the way, Mr. Ireland was not chair at the time. just to be clear, it's before his time even. But my point is, it's bad and it has not gotten a lot better. We need to hold the administration to a higher standard, and that is really probably the thing that I'm most concerned about. There's much larger questions that we have to worry about. We have, as we all know, I think, at least everyone in this room knows, we have issues with stormwater, sewer, drinking water, the shoreline. We have various issues that are still coming up in the education world. There's issues of the environment, there are issues of the roads, and there's always, always, always the issue of affordability. We have to work on both of those. I'm going to stop. Like I said, I think you all know who I am, but I'm open to questions, of course.
Thank you. I think what I'll do is I'll save questions till both of them present, and then we ask everyone the same question. That way everyone has the opportunity to answer the same thing, if that's fair. Does that feel comfortable to everyone on the board? Okay.
Whatever you want.
If need be. Okay. So,
Okay.
yeah, thank you, Mr. Maley. Appreciate you. Mr. Ireland. I like pictures. Thank you. Councilwoman Luna, if anyone didn't hear that, asked if you got crayons as well, but unfortunately, I think the answer to that is no. Maybe at the next Board of Ed meeting, Board of Ed members.
So, first, I very much appreciate everyone taking the time to come and do this and to be part of this tonight. Secondly, and I truly mean this, I really am touched by people coming out and and supporting me, and it means a lot. Thank you. I really do mean that. Third, I probably would have dressed a little differently, but I've got practice at 6, so just bear with me. I apologize. I'm a little more formal, but for those of you that know me, know that most of the time I am. So really what I want to go through real quick is this one here. It kind of just gives the overview and the highlights of things I just want to touch on, and things that I'm proud to say that I've been a part of and worked with. Just like Mr. Maley said too, Mr. Maley's resume speaks for itself. I'm here trying to highlight what I've certainly done, and with a lot of help from a lot of other people. But really, just to kind of go through things real quick, I joined the Board of Finance back in 2019. I was actually an appointed member. I believe that was the time when Jack, I think you might have gone to the town council at that time, and I filled in a spot. And then 2021 was the first campaign that I ran and was elected that year, and then named chairman that same year. And then obviously what goes along with that, serving on the different various boards, Long Range Capital. As people have mentioned, we've done a really nice job with the Board of Education on trying to recognize and advance the investments and the needs that are there, and forming those committees and getting those accomplished. Just during that time, listen, we've maintained a AAA bond rating. We've invested not just in a new school, but again in significant projects that have been needed, and found a way to try to get those things done in a fiscally responsible manner. We've maintained a relatively stable mill rate. It's a little tough to kind of go apples to apples because you get the revaluation of the grand list and everything else, so it's a little tough to go apples to apples with it, but things have stayed relatively stable. And what else I also include in your packet here, and I know it's mentioned before, is during the time that I've been chair, transparency has been something that I'm really trying to push and strive for. And so what you'll see in there is a copy of that fund balance report that now comes on a monthly basis that I listen to my members on, and they said, hey, listen, we want to get more up-to-date information and see what's going on more so in real time. In there is also a mill rate spreadsheet, something that I send out to all the members, as we go through the budget process, so they could be another useful tool to kind of see where things are coming in at and help them make decisions as we go through the budget process. And then what we also see in there is that Board of Education presentation. I believe that was mentioned earlier. I come out to the Board of Ed after their election and go, hey, I know the first thing you probably want to do now that you're here is talk taxes, but here is how this process works. Here's why it's important to you, why it's important to all of us, and here's where you guys are going to end up making the biggest impact here because you're the biggest piece of the pie. And so I always put my contact information in the end there, always open to make sure that people can come talk to me if they have questions and they need to see, how the process works and what goes on, and make sure that they're well educated in that. Really what I've seen my job and my role here is to cultivate relationships. It's to really try to make sure that we can advance the projects and the things that we need. The citizens demand it of us. Our constituents need to see that things are moving forward in a responsible manner, and that we can have reasonable conversations with people, whether it's the town manager's office, the finance director's office, superintendent's office, the Board of Education, wherever it may be. They know they can come to me, I can sit down with them, and we're gonna have a rational discussion. We may not always agree, but we're gonna try to figure out a way to solve a problem. And that is what I will always sit down and talk to people about, is what's the problem, and how do we potentially get there with it? And that's really what I've seen this role as, is just cultivating those relationships. And really the reason I'm here tonight is I want to continue to do that. Listen, it's, as mentioned before, it's time away from family, it's time away, and it's time that I could be spending doing other things, but this is the way that I found that I can give back, and I do enjoy doing it, and that's why I'm here trying to fight for it. And the one thing I do want to mention too is when I did come on as chair, we did end up with a transition from a new finance director from Mary Ann to Sharon. Sharon, to see your growth during this time and everything has been awesome. I hope I've had a very small part of it as we get going, but just thank you for everything you've been trying to improve and get better with. But that is something that I am proud of, is that we brought someone on and we see her getting better and better. I know people may have mentioned before about bipartisanship. I just did put something in here real quick about, we do have different committees and boards within the town here that are a majority Republican, planning and zoning, but we do have a Democrat chair. We've got a Republican Board of Education. They made a decision there to go with a Democrat chair. So I just want to continue that bipartisan kind of move forward. I think for the most part, for those of you that know me, I'm here as, I want to have a conversation with you. No matter what the politics stuff might be, I truly just try to sit down, get to know you, you get to know me, and we try to figure out where the common ground may come in. And James, I know as you become mayor, we've gotten the chance to work, well together. And I did the same thing with Steve Fortenbach, Alan Spots, Enzo, whatever the case might be. If this is the role and this is the job, who do I work with to try to get things done? And how do we advance things? So, future goals, things I know that are coming down the pike. Like I said, I want to continue to collaborate with elected leaders and town officials. One of my biggest frustrations comes at long-range capital, because we obviously see a lot of big numbers and projects that are coming. But at the same time, too, again, our constituents demand of us, okay, what's the solution? How do we how do we solve these problems? I want to continue to work with the local officials here. I think we need to do even more to try to work with our officials down in Hartford to try to see what we can try to do to say, okay, well, listen, we have XYZ project. What do you need? How do we possibly find a way to get this funded through something else? Because after the middle school got done, as you guys all know, the credit card, that limit has gotten pretty pretty short now. So how do we continue to advance and make sure that we're taking care of our residents in a fiscally responsible way, but also making sure the projects that we need to get done here do get done? Because as we've also seen over this period from COVID on, unfortunately, things aren't going to get cheaper. The longer we want to wait for stuff too, unfortunately, the more expensive it seems like it keeps going on and on. So how do we get together? Who do we get in the right room? And how do we continue to develop those relationships to try to get things done for the town of Cromwell? And along with that too, the other side of the equation, we always talk about the expense side. What could we also be doing to try to find a way to grow our grand list, find other sources of revenue? What opportunities are out there to try and expand? As I always say with the Board of Education presentation, how do we expand it this way instead of on the residents currently, right? Let's try to get that bigger base going instead of on the backs of who's already here. So those are the things that I'm trying to continue to move forward with, and I appreciate the time, obviously, answer any questions that you may have, but I hope what I've given you here just gives you a little insight as far as things that we identified. And listen, I don't want to make it sound like this is me that put this together. This was ideas that came from the Board of Finance, and obviously they were instrumental in helping putting these things together, but now at least we get them on a monthly basis or during the budget process, and anything else that we can obviously do to try to continue to improve, I'm obviously all ears. So thank you for your time tonight.
Great, thank you. Alrighty, so we'll do let's try to keep it to 5 minutes. Are there questions for both of the, are there questions for both of the candidates? I would like, Mr. Town Manager.
Can I just make a statement first?
Sure.
I take somewhat of an exception about the information provided to the Board of Finance, remembering that the information for items is approved first by this body here and then passed on to the Board of Finance. And before every meeting, I always had discussion with the chair, and certainly if more information is wanted, we do get the information, but just remembering that item first is approved by this town council before it goes on to the Board of Finance.
Manager.
Just to react to that, that's
Sure.
exactly my point. We get the information from the town manager after he's talking to the chairman, and it has been inadequate. So I would like to change that.
That's all chairs, including the president councilman, used to have numerous discussions with Councilman Hanahan at the time, and I just want to point out, again, the item comes to this body first. If this body felt there was more information needed, then we would provide more information.
Understood and appreciated. Thank you for all the perspectives. Let me get to council questions. Council questions, I'll start with Paula. Any questions for both, one question, or you can ask as many questions you want, but just for both candidates, please, so they have equal opportunity to answer. Okay. Mr. Bonneau. Mr. Waters.
No, I'm good right as it stands right now.
Mr. Hennahan.
I'm fine.
Ms. Hulick. Judge Arjema. Okay. I have two generic questions that I'll ask. So the first one is, we are, as I think you both alluded to, we have a number of projects that are ahead of us, and our credit card is, pretty well worn. What strategies do you plan to implement or utilize as chair of the Board of Finance to help the town maintain our twin obligations of investing in the future of the town and also making sure that the town remains affordable for everyone, and whichever order you want to go in?
This is still on, right? I'm good. I think I may have addressed it a little bit at the end of my presentation there. The bottom line for me is I'm always a big believer in options. At the end of the day, go through and kick the tires on every possible option that we have. We're obviously not going to like a lot of them, but what is left from a bond perspective? Who can we contact in Hartford between Rep. Carpino, Senator Lesser, or other advocates that we may have up that way? What does the future of our grand list kind of look like and hold? And what current tax abatements do we currently have that may be coming off that's going to impact it? So it's really just making sure that we're doing our due diligence and our homework across all possible options, and then at some point the rubber's got to meet the road, and which option of all of them would be the best way kind of forward, and making sure, to your point, communicating that not just to the Board of Finance members, but also to our residents and our constituents, and getting them to understand that, as you said, with the Westfield, that's going to be a tall order, a tough ask, especially if the field's going to be down for a significant period. How is that communication going to go over, and how do we make sure that we, do it in an appropriate manner? So, sorry, go ahead.
And I think this really shouldn't be shocking. We're pretty close on this and the other stuff. Certainly, number one is economic development. One of the problems with that, I think we all know, is that we are physically one of the smaller towns in Connecticut. We are fairly substantially built up, and the question of how much more we want to build up is a big question for the town as a whole. The Board of Finance is unfortunately not in a position to necessarily drive that discussion, but we certainly have to react to it. Then from there, unfortunately, our primary ability there is to be the unfortunate people who have to say no sometimes. We are the people who are after this body or the Board of Education says, hey, here's a bunch of things we'd love to do, all of which are great ideas. It's unfortunately on us occasionally to say, well, it is a great idea, but the people can't afford it. And we just have to stand in the stead of the taxpayer at some points and say, we're going to make some priorities. This comes first, this comes next. Hopefully nothing comes never, but some things are going to have to wait, and some choices have to be made. We certainly want to be as helpful as we can in anything in terms of other sources of revenue, state, federal, so forth. And one of the things I did, by the way, in my history is managed to get $50 million for the Metropolitan District for their combined sewer project. So I have some history in doing that sort of thing. So another thing I might be able to help in. But in any case, we need to get more money from some other places if we can, and we have to manage our own money as best we can.
And then my last question is maybe a bit of a more pointed question for the two of you. So it's a 3-3 board. It's a split board. Obviously, you're going to have to build consensus to move forward. You're going to have to select a vice chair. I think, right, that doesn't come back to us if you guys have to figure out vice chair right yourself, right? It could? So, okay, so like that's an example. How are you both as a leader or as chair going to work through that? Because obviously the board can't, if the board has a 3-3 vote on things and votes fail, projects don't move forward. So how do you plan on expanding the pie, building the coalition, working together to get things done. So what is your plan to tackle that? I'm sorry, that's a really pointed question, but I don't want it. I don't want.
I'll
yeah.
go first this time.
Yeah.
Let me just say that this has not generally been a problem on this board. I mean, we have worked towards consensus, and I'll give John his props on this. I think almost everyone on this board, historically, with the occasional exception, but almost everybody on this board has worked to try to do something. Not to get into a huge history lesson, but why we're here is because the General Assembly decided literally hundreds of years ago to make boards of finance 6 members. And it stayed that way till the present day. And we adopted that with our charter. And why did they do that? Because they wanted you to come to a consensus. You need, among the things in the statutes are, you have 6 members, and you need at least 3 votes to pass everything. And if you have a 3-3 vote, nothing happens. The whole design of the Board of Finance is to be consensus driven. If you don't have 4 votes, really, you can't do anything. So it's just something you have to deal with. Again, going back to my career, I've been involved in many, many situations in the legislative world where you needed votes. Sometimes people weren't with you. Sometimes they're on the other side of the aisle. Sometimes they're on your side of the aisle. But you always have to figure out a way to get to the end. And I think I've been very involved in doing that many times over my life, and no reason I'm going to stop now.
Mr. Maley. Mr. Ireland.
So, I guess I'll circle back real quick on one thing, and I didn't mention it in my presentation, but I'll talk recently about the high school track. We had that vote, and at that point, I mean, quite frankly, I had broken with my party. When that vote first came to my board, it was a 3-3 split that failed, that other members on my side of the aisle decided, not to move forward with it. I mean, to give you an actual example, Mr. Mayor, is I then spent that time reaching back across and going, okay, what are the concerns? What are the issues? How do we possibly try to get here to make it all kind of work and move forward? And I heard them out. They heard me out. And we were in a position, fortunately, where we were able to come back the next month. And at that time, I'm going, okay, I still believe in the project. I still believe in the circumstances that led up to it. I'm not about to get on of it right now. It'd take way too much time. But at that time, I was hoping we would get, a 4-2, get to that 4 number that Mr. Maley mentioned. We got to 6. And I bring that up from the standpoint that, I have voted for Board of Ed budgets. I have voted against Board of Ed budgets. I have voted, as you can see, with, one side of the aisle for a project, went back, worked on my own side, and not only got 4, but got 6 on board. And so, can I necessarily speak to what the future holds? No, but what I want to do is hopefully show you that if history is going to, show what's going to come forward, the reports in front of you, the things that I've tried to listen to other people tell me they need, put those into place, and then hopefully the track is a decent example of what you were looking for. So.
Thank you. I'm all set. Those were my 2 boilerplate questions, so I'm all set. Any other questions from the council before we move forward? I'd like to, I know, Mr. Ireland, you're going to be late to your thing, but if we can all indulge me for a minute, what's the procedure for taking a caucus if I wanted to take a caucus? A recess, and then I go into caucus?
Take a break.
Okay.
Call a break.
Okay. I'd like to call a break if I could. Then, so let's break for 5 minutes. We'll be back at 56. So we're adjourned. We're not adjourned. We are on a break until recess. We're on a recess until 56.
Alrighty, folks, if I can have us start to assemble back to our positions. Thank you for allowing me to take that brief recess. We're back in order at 5:56, although my phone clock says 5:54, but I'm going to go by iPhone land. 5:56. Okay, so now it is time for the council to make a decision. Are there any motions to be made in support of either candidate's nomination as chair?
I'll make a motion to nominate John as chair.
Okay. Okay, I got a motion made by Brian, a second made by Julia. Any discussion on that? Does anyone want to have any discussion on that?
Does it have to be a party affiliate, or?
No, anyone can make, anyone, it's open discussion now. Motion's been made and seconded.
Okay. Back 25 plus years ago, I don't want to make this long, but I have to put a point across. When I ran for Board of Selectmen 25 years ago, I had so much support in this room and out in the hallway, down to the elevator. Back then, Mary Amenta, she never seen so many people show up for support. Support today is number one. It sounds to me, Mr. John's colleagues highly respect him. And this is nothing to do disrespectful to Mr. Maley by all means. But when you have your team supporting you and working with you, you go a long way. And my feeling is the wheel on the court here is not broken. It does not need to be fixed when it's working. That's all I have to say.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll now call for a vote. All those in favor of Mr. Ireland, please indicate by saying aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Yep, sorry. Okay, the motion has it, aye has it. So, Mr. Ireland, congratulations on your reappointment to Chairman of the Board of Finance. Now, as a matter of procedure, do we need to wait another 30 days for them to meet? And if they can't make a decision, to come back for vice chair?
Yes.
Okay.
It's been brought to our attention, Connecticut General Statute 1-225, if I remember correctly. They can call a meeting and set their meeting dates, and then, unless it's an emergency or something that's required right away, in which case they do have a couple items that would fall into that category. They can call a special meeting, but they need to call their meeting to set their dates for 2026.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so that is that item of business. So we will now move on to our next item of business, is that we need to update the minutes from the last meeting. There was a typo in the minutes. So I believe, Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, the dates of the meeting minutes for 2026 didn't make it into.
I just missed that
Yep.
item.
And then Paula found one other typo.
Yeah, it's just an itty bitty one, but I noticed it. On page 7, the top of the page, motion made by Jay Origema and seconded by Jay Hennahan to approve items O1 A through H. It should be P1 A through H. That's all.
Okay, so it's just a typo. I think it's what was it? Yeah, it's just a minor typo.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll take a motion to amend the agenda to fix that typo that Paula just counted out, and then also add the 2026 meeting dates, which were voted upon at that meeting on the November 12th meeting, and amend the minutes appropriately. Can I have a motion for that?
Motion.
Made by Brian, second by Jack. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion carries. And now that we've amended the minutes, I'll have a motion to approve the amended minutes.
So, no.
Another issue?
Oh, another one?
Okay.
Back, I take back my motion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Back on November 12th, we received a letter reference to the police chief. And as far as him getting his sick leave, 25%, which he accumulated, there was some wording in there that I did not like due to the fact that it was going to be setting a precedent. Now, in the past 5 years, this council, not everybody on here, has set 2 precedents, which were, we have no choice but to go by them now, and it's costing us money. Mr. DiTrimatis had changed the wording, but I don't see it on here.
But let me just make sure, so what's in the motion was that in light of the chief of police's tenure with the town and not using any of his accrued sick leave, the town council will approve a partial payout of his 25% for his accrued sick time. I think the distinction that we wanted to make, and I think I asked for an amendment, should it reflect that was that the motion that was made verbatim? Okay, because I think our discussion was that because he had a perfect attendance, in other words, that we wanted to allow him to have the sick time buyout option.
In the motion, why, in light of.
In light of, okay. Okay. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
the council has not set any precedents in the past or with this one. All individuals are non-bargaining. No precedents have been set with regards to the action taken by the previous council and this council.
Gotcha, okay.
If I may?
Do you think it's okay? I think it's okay the way it is.
If I may?
Go ahead.
To disagree with the town manager, we sat at a meeting, if I'm not mistaken, last year, regards to the retiring police chief, and she wanted to have her, senior moment, her insurance, supplement insurance covered by the town of Cromwell. And that is similar to what we had prior to that, when we approved our prior finance director. And it was brought to our attention that night that we already did it once, we gotta do it again. So a precedent was set there. And that's the part that bothers me, because sooner or later, something's gonna come back and bite us. And I just, no offense to anybody, but my position and my job here is to protect the town from any errors that we make, or correct errors. I don't wanna go into an argument about this. It just didn't sit well on me, even when we did the police chief, the retired police chief, for her 55 years of age, we gotta pay her supplement for 10 years. That's a lot of money, a lot of money. And because she even made a remark that night, that you've already set a precedent. And she said that to me.
But it's not true, Mr. Waters.
Well, I'm telling you what she said, sir.
But this
And
body.
I agree with her.
This body has all the authority to deny, and there's nothing that the individual that's requesting can do. I'm telling you, when it comes to the non-bargaining members, there's no precedent set. They can refer to it, but at the end of the day, you can still deny. And the union members can't negotiate on their own. They have to negotiate through their union members, and it has to be in the CBA.
Unfortunately, that was an executive session, so there's no minutes on it, Mr. Salvatore.
So I'm gonna jump in. Everyone's point is well taken. I think that the language in light of will be sufficient to protect the interests of the town moving forward. If we want to revisit it at the next council agenda and tweak that motion with a subsequent motion to make it even clearer, we can, but I think our intent was, and our discussion will support, that it's because he's never used a sick day that we felt a sick time payout would be appropriate, because otherwise he would have used those sick days, and he's an exempt employee, a managerial employee, non-bargaining unit employee. So it's not a direct one-to-one. If in the future, like, we want to revisit it for another management employee, we can. I don't think we should just be mindful as a board that when we make decisions, we need to make sure that we have the rational basis behind it. And I think in this case, he had perfect attendance. In his entire time being chief, he had never taken a sick day. So I think that, as long as that's clear that that is why we afforded him a greater benefit than otherwise would be entitled to him, I think that would be appropriate. And if we want to revisit it again,
If I may,
yeah.
it's no offense to the chief at all.
Yeah.
He's excellent. He's done excellent. I'm just worried about somebody coming down the road saying,
yeah. And what I would say to them is, are you a chief of police with perfect attendance? And if they are, then God bless, we'll have the conversation.
there's always way to get around things. It's a couple of few
I'm hoping
small
that this
words.
influences the next chief to not
To
take
have
a
perfect
6 day for
attendance.
6
we
straight
will
years.
still have the discretion to vote how we feel we need to vote in any particular case. And whoever that person is gonna use whatever information they have to try to influence the decision to their benefit. And you can't blame them, that's what they're gonna try to do. So then it's incumbent upon us as a group to decide, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't have enough weight for us to go in that direction. At
Mr.
least
Jack,
that's my
if I may, one sec.
Go ahead.
Jack, this was before you got put on here, and I'm kind of, how can I say this? A little scared in a way that I don't want to see this happen again. That's why I'm not trying to make a big issue out of this. I'm just trying to protect the town from cost and all that. And I know as far as we have a right to say yes or no, but somewhere along the line, somebody's going to come in here, possibly with an attorney, and I guess there's a couple of small words, if, may, and shall, and it can happen. Other than that, next month, we have a meeting. If we can clarify a couple things, I'd appreciate that.
We can clarify the sick time, if anybody else has sick
Thank
time,
you.
perfect attendance.
Thank you.
Okay. With that concludes our business, so I'll take a motion to adjourn. Made by Paula. Second by Jack. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we are adjourned at 6:08. All in favor? Right, aye. Yeah. Okay. All right, we are adjourned at 6:08.